Sins versus secret sins. Now, this is truly a deep, deep spiritual message. And, you know, this stuff is deep. This stuff is very deep. And this applies to, more or less like diverse beings and people, including myself. But sins versus secret sins, man, this stuff is deep because once again, we all have sin. And, we all have sin. And this stuff is deep because the way God views this stuff is it's on a spiritual level. This has nothing to do with your carnal mind. This has nothing to do with all this other funny stuff. No. God is judging this stuff spiritually, and he is judging this stuff righteously, Man, this stuff is deep. And see, the thing is, sins, like, you may have your normal sins like, lust and masturbation and, all this other stuff, like, once again, lust and, lust of the flesh, I should say, and just, anger at times and stuff like that for certain individuals, and these are like low to mediocre type sins, concerning in God's view of things and, different things in that nature. But then you got secret sins, and as I'm, versus that, getting into that, man, the secret sin stuff is not a game. Because see, the thing is, like, secret sins is stuff that you're doing that you don't want anybody else to really know you're doing, but God knows and the devil knows. That's what you got to realize about this stuff when it comes to secret sins. And secret sins is just dealing with, like, stuff that you don't want people to really know. Like, you're secretly masturbating, and you're secretly, just a habitual liar, and, you're secretly a hater and all that stuff like that. And God is taking that secret sin. Honestly, the secret sin is God is taking way more into accountability concerning individuals. He's holding more people accountable, is what I'm trying to say, on a high level with the secret sins compared to just the normal sins, And that secret sin stuff, it's deep. It's deep because once again, God is holding a higher accountability for individuals when people are in secret sins. And once again, that is truly dealing with, like, just being a habitual liar and a secret hater and all that stuff, and masturbating in secret, and pretending that, you just don't have any sin, but you're really behind the scenes, you're doing all this stuff, and it's unconfessed to God, and, you're not fighting for change and all that stuff, and you're just, you're part of all this stuff once again. And man, that secret sin is what's going to have a lot of people in hell and other worse dark places concerning the spirit world. That's what I'm telling you, because sins versus secret sins. And this stuff is deep. This stuff is real, is what I'm saying. And, a lot of you may wonder, like, do I have any secret sins and all that stuff, man? And I've already done, like, I believe I've already done something concerning this stuff. But me personally, no, I don't really have any secret sins. I don't, and many of you people may wonder, like, well, what do I do and all this stuff, and I've already mentioned all this stuff. But man, I do struggle with masturbation and stuff like that. And I do have a little lust, but more or less, I don't really struggle with that, more or less. I have very little lust that I deal with. And that's not that major to God, is what I'm telling you. This stuff is not major to God concerning these certain matters. But once again, when it becomes like, when you have these certain secret sins that you just hide from people, and you portray that you're not doing anything, this is when it's a problem. Because when that secret sin, is taking place, God is jotting this stuff down, So sins versus secret sins. Once again, sins are just like normal stuff that you commit. Like I said, you could be masturbating. You could be, watching the pornography and all that stuff. And I'm not encouraging this stuff, more or less. I'm not. But this stuff is a real matter. And I'm a spiritual follower of God, so I'm not on that other stuff. I'm not on that being perfect stuff and all that funny stuff. No. You will have sin. You will have sin. But sins versus secret sins is what I'm telling you. Sin is just that normal stuff that you commit, like, as I'm being led by the Spirit, smoking weed and all that stuff. Like, it's just like normal, like, it's normal sins, and certain individuals God will, have mercy on concerning these matters, like smoking weed and doing certain drugs. But certain drugs, you can't afford to be doing. It's that type of thing too. What I'm saying, and more or less you should be getting away from that, more or less on a spiritual aspect of things. But getting back to sins, like sins is just certain things you struggle with, like certain normal stuff that you may struggle with, like, like I said, you may watch pornography and masturbation. You may do certain things, fall short of God, stuff like that. It's just normal sins. Like, you may slightly overeat and stuff like that too. That's another, you already know that where I'm going with that, of gluttony and all that stuff, and that is something you truly got to get away from, more urgent than others. It's other sins is what I'm telling you, but this stuff is sin. And these are sins versus secret sins is what I'm saying. And the stuff, once again, getting into secret sins is stuff you're hiding from God and people, and God's people too, as he's leading me to say, that secret sin. When you're doing certain things that I mentioned in secret, and being a habitual liar, that stuff is a secret. That stuff is secret. Nobody really knows, but God and the devil do. That's what I'm telling you. Being a habitual liar and all this stuff, and you're trying to get over on people, and that's secret sin to God is what I'm telling you. You're trying to, you're operating out of manipulation, the spirit of manipulation and all that stuff. That's secret sin to God. God is expressing this stuff through me by his Spirit. But this stuff is deep, because sins versus secret sins. And many people are in this category of secret sins. And I'm just here to tell you that if you don't get out of the secret sins and truly repent, you will perish. You will perish. And this is just spiritual. On a spiritual level, you will perish. And some of you are already perishing because you have so much secret sin and secret sins that, God is just really not gonna give you much more mercy, if I'm being real, concerning this stuff. Because secret sins is very serious to God. And also, as he's leading me to say, secret sins is what's going to be exposed concerning your judgment and judgment day. Secret sins. It's not so much the sins that you struggle with. Because once again, I've already mentioned the certain sins. We all have sin. And you will sin. You will do certain sins. But the secret sins is just something that cannot be just a secret. You know what I'm saying? Concerning God and concerning, the people who God has picked and stuff like that, the people who have a relationship with him. What I'm telling you is that secret sin is something that cannot be that, is what I'm telling you. You cannot be in this category, is what I'm saying. If you trying to inherit heaven, is what I'm telling you. Because God is going to bring up your secret sins, and this stuff is truly not a game. And once again, you people may ask, like, do I have any secret sins? No, people, I don't, is what I'm telling you. I don't really have that. If I'm being real with you people, I don't. Yes, I do have sin, though. I do have sin. And that's what this is about, sins versus secret sins. Yes, I do have sin. And I've already mentioned, and I'll list it again, more or less as God is leading me. But I do struggle with masturbation. I do masturbate, and it will be a very, journey with that in a way, And God is setting me free in little by little and aspect by aspect. But this stuff is not, no walk in the park with this stuff, No, it's not. And I would not lie to you about this. No. But I do that. And what else? And I do have a little lust, very little lust. I'm not really deep into that stuff, really, when it comes to lust and all that stuff. You know, I do lust every so often. Yeah, I do. It's very, very every so often, more or less. Like, it's not really a major problem with me when it comes to lust, though. But I do lust every so often. You know, I do. And I'm very real about this matter. But everybody else is not going to be transparent with you about this stuff, and they're going to perish. That's what I'm telling you. So yeah, with all that being said, sins versus secret sins. If you're in a category of just a bunch of secret sins, and man, you know, man, your judgment is going to be like, it's not going to be a game. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be a lot more intense than the people who just have sins. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. So with all this being said, and with all that being said, yeah, sin versus secret sins, sins versus secret sins.